Hello and welcome to our 92nd episode of the Gutenberg Changelog podcast. In today's episode, we will talk about WordPress 6.4, the default theme, Gutenberg 16.9, Gutenberg plugin release 17.0, and that's a lot. So I'm your host, Birgit Pauli-Haack, curator at the Gutenberg Times and a full-time core contributor for the WordPress open source project sponsored by Automatic. And today I have the pleasure to introduce our listeners to Jessica Lyschik, a core contributor and WordPress 6.4 release team for the default theme, together with Maggie Cabrera. So Jessica was also the co-lead organizer of last month's WordCamp Germany in Gerolstein. Both the building of the default theme and the WordCamp organizing were taking place in the same time space in the last few months. So I'm thrilled that you can make time for the show. Welcome, Jessica. How are you today?
Hi, Birgit. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. A bit tired because this week has been quite exhausting, but I'm very much looking forward to today's episode. So
yeah, I'm so glad you're here. And it's been a while that we said you should come on the podcast. So I'm glad you made it today. Yes, there was a lot of work for the open source project, and I'm so happy. Congratulations to WordCamp Germany. Have you recovered from it all?
It took a few more days than expected, but I really had to recover from this. There was a huge push in the last few weeks before the WordCamp Germany because some things were about to fall apart, but as they always do. Yeah. But we managed to create a wonderful event, and we've got very, very good feedback from attendees, sponsors, speakers. Literally everyone was super happy to have been in Gerolstein, and that was fantastic. And yes, of course, the default theme also took a lot of hours from me, but yeah, I think we did a great job on this, and Maggie was fantastic to work with. So
yeah, and we're gonna talk a lot more about that in just a few moments. But before we head into the releases, dear listeners, we have a couple of announcements from the project that happened in the last, 4 weeks since the last episode. So first of all, there's the State of the Word. For those who are new to WordPress, WordPress co-founder Matt Mollevik shares reflections on the project's progress and what's the last year, and then what's in it for next year and the future. And it's also the time where we celebrate the community activities and the software updates. This year, it will take place on December 11, 2023 at 1500 UTC. That's for our American friends, 9 a.m. Eastern. And it will be live streamed from Madrid. Details on how to reserve a ticket for the in-person event, the link to watch the live stream, and information on how to submit the questions for the Q&A portion will be provided later this month. So watch the news section on the WordPress.org website. Of course, we have the save the date post link in the show notes. I'm really excited what's going to happen there. Yeah, do you have any comments on that? What do you expect?
It's interesting to see that it got moved outside the US. I think it's the first time it's not happening in the US. And I would be curious to hear why Madrid was chosen, because I've never been there before, but I know that it's a very interesting city. So we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, you're right. It's the first time outside the US. It's also the first time not the first time outside of WordCamp US. The previous two times, 2021 and 2022, were also on a separate event. Was not tied to WordCamp US, which made WordCamp US a little bit more flexible when it's gonna take place. Yeah, the State of the Word was always in December, but now the WordCamp US was in October, was in September, now in August, so it was kind of moved a little bit earlier into the year. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to, again, as always, to reflect on what the last year brought, because right now I'm just like you. What happened last week is kind of all I can think about and what I'm reflecting on. But yeah, so we get a chance for that with it. December 11th, 1500 UTC. Josepha Hayden-Champoussi published the proposed release dates for 2024. The proposal is actually on the Make blog. I'll just say it on, it's a little bit hard if you can't look at it, but maybe you can retain the date. 6.5 is scheduled to be released March 26. Well, it's proposed to be released. Yeah, the release team still needs to kind of chime in there, which makes beta February 13th, beta 1. 6.6 is scheduled for mid-July, July 16th, with a beta of June 4th. And then 6.7, similar to 6.4 this year, with a general release on November 5th and September 24 in beta 1. So I'm always looking kind of just one release ahead of time. And Hector Prieto also kind of chimed in and said, well, the last Gutenberg release shipped in 6.5 will be 17.7. That's 7 more complete Gutenberg cycles until we have beta 1 in February 13th. Wow, that's kind of, it sounds so far away, but 7 releases is not that far away, right? If we release every 2 weeks, we have already released Gutenberg 17.0. So there's quite a few things that might get in there. We'll see what the developer team is kind of coming up with a roadmap for 6.5. I'm sure that fonts library will be on the list of wanted features, like the last 5 releases. And so interactivity API will be certainly make an appearance again. And maybe we see some new data views or admin redesigns. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I was also very looking forward to the font library.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much a bummer it didn't get included into 6.4, but it doesn't make any sense if you push something into the release just to have people complaining about it because it doesn't work as they expect it to. So yeah, if it can be a bit more refined, and I hope this gets to be done by 6.5 because it's so much of a needed feature to have this management of fonts, especially since we have pushed Google Fonts out of the default themes. Like,
yeah,
I was one of the people involved in this for the older themes earlier this year. And of course, the last few default themes have already been doing this. Yeah, it always brings a bit of a problem when you have your own custom fonts or a project requires it, then you have an extra additional work with creating a child theme, making sure it does work there, it gets implemented. And this could solve so many issues and would it make so much easier for every user to just
have a management
get
system.
Their fonts in.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I think because it's such an important feature, it needed a few more iteration in the Gutenberg plugin base before it gets into core to get more of the kinks out. And if I recall correctly, but there were still quite a few things happening in development in beta 1 and beta 2. Fonts library got punted in beta 2, but that it really makes sense to have a few more test cycles for it.
Yeah, maybe some iterations for the replacement of templates that got newly introduced for the default theme, because right now it's very hidden, unfortunately. So you have to show people where to go. And if this could be improved over the next version, that would be fantastic, because you have such a large sidebar when you open the site editor in browse mode, and it would be just perfect if we could implement this replacement feature into the sidebar alongside with all the other settings you can do basically on a template.
Right. And I think there are already some versions of that in the Gutenberg plugin release in 16. So 16.1 was the last release that got in. No, 16.7 was the last release that got into 6.4. But in 16.8 and 9, there were additional functionality built that some of them, the bug fixes would be backported, but some of them didn't make it into the beta because it was too late, but it's already in Gutenberg. So we can definitely test it there and refine it there. Yeah, the template part itself, the concept for the user, what is a template and what is a page, still seems to be a confusing piece of it. And I can understand that because a WordPress user, an existing or someone who was using WordPress for the last, I don't know, 10 or 20 years, never had to deal with it because it was always part of the theme. And all of a sudden now that it added complexity, we didn't make a good way to abstract that complexity away, to make it easier to kind of realize what they're doing. But I think the site editor is now on the way to help with that, with a different view and edit modes for templates and page content. But it's still one additional hurdle for a content creator to make. Yeah.
Mm.
So this brings us to the perfect segue to the community contributions item that I selected. Was so in September, there was actually a big discussion around a theme submission to the WordPress repository that included a few features that didn't comply with the guidelines that helped a new user to figure out what to do with a theme. And strictly speaking, those features were definitely in the plugin territory. And the discussions made clear that there is a need for better onboarding, but it also made clear that you cannot make exceptions for one theme and then have the other themes kind of, so why him or why her and not me? So it's clear that there needs to be a discussion about standards, about the way to do this for WordPress, and that has been opened. Now, a couple of weeks ago, it's a post on the theme make blog called Discussion How to Handle Custom Settings Screens in Block Themes. And this definitely needs your input. If you're interested in that, if you make themes, and if you want to kind of find a way to have a standardized way on getting an onboarding sequence, for instance, for your theme into the guidelines of the theme repository, that is definitely a discussion to where you could be. It wasn't clear to me what the next steps would be, but the next one is definitely comment on it. And if you have time, the themes team meets every other Tuesday at 1500 UTC in the themes review channel on the Make Slack. I think I need to put some links there in the show notes. I think that's not easy to retain from a radio podcast, but yeah, so that is definitely where the community needs to give some input, where the contributors need some help to figure things out. Do you have any opinion of that now with the default theme? Maybe we can talk about it a little bit there.
A lot of opinions, to be honest. Yeah, I actually did not know about this post. So yeah, it was just 2 days before WordCamp Germany happened. So it totally missed me. But I will definitely go through this later on. But yeah, I can see both sides in this discussion actually. So from a theme author's perspective, you're limited, definitely. And there is, from a user perspective, a huge need for proper onboarding. So there is no standardized system. Mm-hmm. And like every plugin and every theme, in theory, every theme, but every plugin does it like on its own. They all often look similar, but everyone does it on its own. And I think we have various APIs in WordPress, and I think an onboarding API would be something for the future that we could consider like implementing, because then you could say, okay, even if it's a theme, when you have the standardized API, it would be possible for a theme to like, hey, just put these settings and here can you change this and upload your logo or whatever that needs to be done for a theme to like be set up properly or look good. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's pretty much what I would like to see in the future at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. The question is, does it have to be in the theme or should it be in core? Should it be on the hosting side? I know that there is a product out there by the fine folks at Extendify that has an onboarding sequence that they offer hosting companies for that to sell their WordPress installations or come with their WordPress installation. I saw some prototypes and those looked really, really well. So the big problem is for those who, when you have these features in a plugin or in a theme, and the features are plugin territory, what you do is pretty much close down the system that people cannot switch themes without losing content. And that is something that the theme directory really wants to avoid. And so any onboarding sequence or feature would need to make sure that the content that it's added through that place is in proper places in the database. So when the theme changes, that the content is not lost. And that, I think, is a bigger problem than I think we make it out at the moment.
Yeah, but then it's definitely core territory. So it should
right.
land in core, this onboarding API, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's the point, because otherwise, when you just say it's okay, it's just for plugins, then themes will always come with a companion plugin. And the question is that really needed?
Yeah,
so that's why it should be in core.
Right.
And everyone can, no matter if it's a plugin or a theme, they all can benefit from like this kind of onboarding.
Yeah, and there are these efforts to do a redesign of the WP admin in certain ways. Yeah, maybe that brings back that discussion for core contributors to add something like that as well. So I think the discussions are all there. One is, again, on the Make Theme blog. Yeah, chime in, be part of it, be part of the discussion, and then you may be part of the solution as well. So that's part of what you might have missed, like Jessica and I did while we were kind of celebrating WordPress Germany. I was also on a team retreat for a while and then had 4 days vacation. And all of a sudden, my backlog is kind of insurmountable, and I'm going back on it one day at a time. But we're now there. We are at the section in our episode that what's released. And this week, 2 says here, but I know it's 3 releases that took place. It was WordPress 6.4, and then a day and a half later, WordPress 6.4.1 came out. And then we had Gutenberg 17.0. So let's talk about WordPress 6.4 first. Then we can talk about the default theme that comes with it. And then we cover what's new in Gutenberg 16.9 and 17.0. And after that, you should probably be caught up, dear listeners, as well on all the WordPress happenings. It was a busy 4 weeks.
Definitely.
WordPress 6.4, it's called Shirley, after the iconic JS artist Shirley Horn, was released on November 7th, with a quick point release on November 9th to fix a bug with the older version of curl, which is a command line request tool, and the request tool. We have if you're very interested, it's very highly technical. And if you're interested, I'll share the link to the WP Tavern article to it. They have the skinny for you. But this release is a culmination of an immense effort and passion from over 600 contributors across at least 56 countries, and it included 170 first-time contributors. This is pretty huge. I think about, so 600 contributors is one of the biggest releases. So we talked on this podcast in episode with Joni Halaby, Nadia Maya Adjani, Pam Lister, and Ellen Bauer already on WordPress 6.4. It was in the making for quite a while, shorter than others. But I also will ask today's co-host, Jessica, the same question. So what features in 6.4 excited you the most and why?
Well, the default theme, obviously.
Apart from that.
We will get into that later. Apart from that, of course, renaming group blocks is something I was looking forward to. It has been so needed in the past for me, and I'm very glad it's finally here. And I can't wait until this comes to all the other blocks as well, because it will make editing so much easier, especially if you have like larger sites with lots of groups and lots of content grouped together. That's one of my highlights. And the lightbox feature, the image lightbox, is pretty neat one too. And what else was in?
No, I've
forgotten.
There's a highlight. So what I also like is that you now, as a user, can categorize your custom patterns.
Oh,
So
yes.
you can not only have a huge list of patterns that you spread all over your website, but you can also put them in categories. I think that's a major place to be for
Yeah,
patterns.
and maybe background images in groups. I
Yes.
used that last evening. So yesterday evening, I was presenting changes in 6.4 to the local meetup group in Nuremberg, and it was pretty exciting to see how easy it was to like just add a background image to a group blog and put some
Yeah.
contents in it and make it look nice.
Yeah, I also like that you can now see the thumbnails in the list views of
Mm-hmm.
your pictures or the image blocks or the gallery blocks. So that's pretty cool too. Yeah, the footnote was new in 6.3, but now you have vertical text support, which is the vertical text support is actually pretty much rolled out as well in 6.3, but it gotten a lot less so fragile in 6.4. So that is definitely a good place to be too. Yeah. So Rich Tabor posted a Twitter thread with 19 different features or highlights from 6.4, which I will definitely share in the show notes so you can follow along. He has a little videos in it and how to use some of those. Although the font library didn't make it, and neither did two new blocks that were actually on the list. They were punted to 6.5. It's still really a feature-rich release. There is a microsite now available. You can explore the features with. Yeah, I can also share some of the other posts from WP Tavern, and Carlos Daniel from Kinsta did a great write-up on the features of WordPress 4. So WordPress 6.4 also comes with a few developer relevant changes, and I would highly recommend that you check out the WordPress 6.4 field guide to learn about them, especially the block hooks for dynamic blocks, where you can add a block to a block automatically with your code. And we talked about this on the episodes before, like a like block or a shopping cart block, or even an additional lightbox feature if you want to do that. There's also new admin notice functions, updates to the HTML API, the removal of the attachment pages for new installations is actually something that Joost de Van de Valk was really passionate about, and is very happy that it finally made it into WordPress core, because for SEO they're not useful, but they kind of clutter the whole basis of pages on sites in the Google index. So there's improved caching, and auto loading for plugins and options. And so there's a lot of few more things there. So the field guide is your friend. Is there any of that kind of excites you more, or that you know that you need to explore because you have a real case application for it or so?
Yeah, I think the block hooks is something definitely to explore, because it's a very interesting feature to like just hook in, as we know it from like the normal WordPress hooks, but for blocks. And yeah, one thing that's really cool is also the removal of that attachment pages. I think I have to check on again if you can do it for existing sites somehow. I think there was something possible. I quickly found it somewhere, but I've forgotten it already.
Yeah, it's in the dev notes how you can make that available to existing pages. Out of the box, it only works for new installations, but you can go back and update your existing sites to
Yeah, I
make
think
that
it would be
available.
very beneficial for like already existing sites as well to have that happen. But it's a great way to like introduce it without like making too much of an issue when you just remove them with the update, instead of like as it is now, it's only for new installations, and then you can manually update it to like also disable them.
Yeah, there's even a WP options kind of way to do that in the interface. There's WP admin / WP options kind of, where you see all the options for it. Yeah, you can definitely do it from there, but you can also do it code-wise. Yeah. So now let's talk a bit more. We mentioned it multiple times before, the new default theme 2024. So you, Jessica, and Maggie Cabrera were the co-leads for the development. And Beatrice Fiallo created the first designs. Congratulations. It seems that the first feedback was overwhelmingly positive. We saw that coming during development. I don't know if you saw it, but I saw it.
Yes, I saw it, and it continued, and it still continues, and that what's really makes me happy that Maggie and I did something everyone is excited about. That's just so cool.
Yeah, and I just want to do 2 quotes that I found on Twitter. One is from Hashim Warren. He's a product manager and worked for Gatsby and WP Engine and also for Apollo. And he said, played with a new WordPress 2024 theme for a few hours, then quickly switched my site to use it. The first time I'm using the default WordPress theme on a project I care about. Really great work there. Yay.
Yay. That's cool.
Ray Morey, she's the editor of the repository newsletter, tweeted her comments as well and said, holy crap, WordPress 6.4 on 2024, wow, match made in heaven. Props to everyone who contributed, saying goodbye to my page builder. The updated editing experience is a game changer. Previously, I found it so confusing to know where to start when I enabled the block theme. Yesterday, I redesigned my whole site in a day with 2024. And here's the site. It's therepository.email. The repository is an email that's supported by GoDaddy, and Ray had just announced that they have their 4-year anniversary on the newsletter, and I think it was edition 192 that came out on today. That's Friday, November 10th. So yes, Ray, great comments there for the team.
I just opened the site and it looks pretty good. Yeah.
And as everything in WordPress, it's created by a team of contributors. And from the props list of the import ticket into core, I counted 83 contributors in total. That's a massive participation. Must have been quite exciting to wrangle all the input, feedback, contributions.
It was mainly managing actually. So I did a few things on my own, luckily. Yay! I could also contribute code, but yeah, I was mainly on the management side on this. But it was so exciting to see that so many people came in and opened issues, opened pull requests, and helped out with making this a reality, given the very limited time we had actually. And I think that's not something that a lot of people are aware about, but we had just basically a month. But then we extended it kind of because okay, it's just updating patterns, so we can do it during beta as well. So I hope no one kills me for this, but yeah, otherwise it wouldn't be in the state that it is now. And it was so great to see. And I think also what really helps in contributing to the default theme is that it's made on GitHub as well, just like the Gutenberg project, because I can only speak, or I can also speak especially for myself, because I find it so hard with Track and SVN to make fixes or do new stuff in it. And in GitHub, it's just so much easier for me even to have this entire process done. And we just set up very few rules, and it really went out very well. And we had great discussions there too. And again, I'm so happy that so many people contributed, and we also did our best to include everyone in this contributions file, because everyone deserves to be in there, even if it's just opening an issue and saying, hey, I got a problem with this, or is this something we should think about? Because every discussion is worth it.
Oh yeah, especially bug reports. Yeah, it's kind of half the work is already done. Somebody found it, and nobody else needs to go, if you find a fix, in time to go through it. So yeah, it's really valuable time to spend to contribute to that. Yes, and so the theme itself has an outlook for 3 different use cases. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So the original idea was, I shared it first time with Maggie when we met at WordCamp Europe. Just a few days earlier, it got announced, the release squad got announced. So I met her there the first time, and I shared this idea with her, let's make a default theme that does not only showcase that you can make a blog with WordPress, but you can do any type of website, basically. Of course, we could not include any type of website, that would be pretty huge, and we would still be developing that. But like, what are the main, very often used cases where WordPress is used for as the platform for this website? So of course, blogging is one, but business is also a very important one. And I think many websites today getting set up on WordPress are like business focused in some kind or some way. And portfolio was also another one, to showcase your work, either if you're a graphic designer or make products of your own, physical products. You can also showcase them with these. And it became pretty clear that this was the way to go. And I'm glad that it did not get like questioned too much, but that people also saw that it's an interesting idea to showcase what's possible with WordPress in these 3 specific use cases. And once we knew that Bea was doing the designs for it, we also briefed her with this entire brainchild of us, how we would like to see this and how we'd like to see the default theme coming together. And I must say again, she did a fantastic job on this as well, bringing this to life. And yeah, also the style variations, giving a bit of variety in like what could colors and fonts basically look like in a setup of the patterns that we already have.
So one of the big features that I think made people kind of very successful at the first round of trying to customize the website is that it uses full page patterns. So when you create a service page, you get your services in there, you get a header graphic, you get a photographic and all that. So I think that particular feature was something that was available before, but not long before, maybe 6.2, but it wasn't showcased by anyone that much. So having that in the default theme definitely makes it really good, available for everybody.
Yeah, it just lowers the bar for the average user to like, oh hey, I can just switch out this template with like the other one I prefer or I need for my website on this. And I think that's something, because previously you would have to delete all the blocks that you had on the site and like recreate them on their own, and you have to find the patterns that you would use and like how could you arrange them. And with 2024 you get like pre-built templates you can already use or just use and adjust to your own needs. And I think this is what's helping people a lot compared to like 2023, which was pretty stripped down basically.
Yeah. So for our listeners, I have a few links for you. One is the blogger demo and the artist photography demo, and of course the main site, demo site. And then also, a link to the patterns, and of course the download link if you don't have that yet. So try them out. I think it's a great move forward. I think the Gutenberg Times will always kind of also will migrate to a block theme, probably the default theme. I have started the process and then backed away again because I need to have a few quiet moments. Haven't had that yet to think through some of the features that we need, because we need the podcast template and we need the podcast archive template, and the plugins don't provide that yet, so we kind of figure that one out, and a lot of other things, mainly having the time. But
that would be a cool project to like do it in public and like have people following around. Maybe.
I'm trying. I'm probably teaming up with Justin Tadlock, who's a theme whiz, to help me out with that. So I actually finish that project, because most of the time, some of the project I just start, see what I can do, and then, now I know how this works, and then I lose interest. But this one I would need to have to finish, and it would be the first redesign since, I think, 2020. So 3 years or 4 years then. All right. So is there anything else that you want people to know about the default theme?
Go test it out. Have a look at it. Play with it. I would be super interested in any feedback, positive or constructive. Negative, maybe not, but constructive. That's why I said it. Because like we can always learn for like future themes. like what does work well or what does not work not so well. Because I've already seen a bit of feedback on people implementing it. For example, Matt from Matt Report had already done a video on this. I only saw the first bit of it so far, and it was very interesting to see what he struggled with actually. That I wasn't so much aware that would be a problem. And that's definitely something you can always
Do you have an example?
like look back at his feedback. Sorry?
Do you have an example of what he struggled with?
Actually, it's when he updated on this medreport.com website, and he had a static site configured as his front page, so the home page, and then had this blog subsite as on the /blog. And when you have this set up, what happens is 2024 brings the template you see on the front page when you have not set up that. It brings the entire template in. Which can be confusing for people because like there's all this content they never added before, but it's in the template. So that's something I wasn't aware of, that it would be, even in this case, I thought it would be like overwritten already. But of course, now that I saw it, it's definitely clear what happens. And
do you think it's a bug?
That's a good question, if it's a bug or a feature, depending from which side you're looking at it.
Right.
But he had to remove all the contents to just simply show a query block with the latest posts on the website. I think this is not something particularly the default theme can fix. Of course, you could remove all that extra patterns from there, but it's also something we have to like send upstream to the Gutenberg repository to say, folks, please look at this. It's okay, it works somehow, but we need a way to fix it. Or like a very common thing is people edit their templates, switch the theme, and then their content is gone. It's not gone, but it's in the template, so it's not there in the next template. And these custom user changes is also something that needs to be considered for the future, because like the more we work with block themes, the more we see, okay, where we still have some issues we need to fix.
Those issues were there before, but they were kind of abstracted away because it was the theme developers thing, but the user never was confronted with it because the theme took care of it, with an if statement and all that, and kind of tapping into the settings, and then the template, because you don't have these if statements in the template, somehow all of a sudden it's a little bit disjointed there. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. All right. Okay, good. Yeah, I had the same problem when I switched I have a personal technology blog where I kind of just keep track of things that I learned that I need to look up 3 months from now, and I probably will have forgotten how I did this. And that was one thing, that I had a blog front page, but I needed to remove the stuff from the default theme. Yeah, that's true. Didn't remember that, but now that you mention it. All right, so we are done with 6.4 for now. And the default theme, thank you so much about letting us look behind the scenes there. We are coming now to the last two Gutenberg releases. Let's start with Gutenberg 16.9. That was released on October 25th. And Justin Tadlock was the release candidate, and he shared all the information, of course, in his release post. It entailed 168 PRs from 60 contributors, and one of them was new. So as a new feature, or what came in, and I wanted to highlight, is that you mentioned it for 6.4, was to enable the renaming of group blocks in 6.4. With 16.9 in Gutenberg, you can rename almost all the blocks. So the custom names are stored in metadata in the block markup, and meaning they can also be used for pattern and templates. And that makes it so much more, I don't know, less ambiguous for users when they look at the blocks that are in the templates or on their site. Yeah, so that's a great feature.
I mean, a workaround right now is to like use the anchor feature for this. It kind of works, but it creates anchors. Yeah, it's not the best way, but yeah, if it's coming to 6.5, that's so great.
Yeah, and because it's in 6.9, it will be in 6.5 unless somebody has additional bugs that they find there during the beta version.
Then we have to fix it before beta 1.
We have to, absolutely. The next item is block-specific commands as contextual suggestions. So 6.2 came with a command palette. 6.3, I forgot. 6.3, I think, came with a new command palette where you Control K, and then you can get a search bar, and then you can ask for certain things like add a post or open the patterns, or and now there are block specific commands that are suggested contextually. So when you're in a block, it kind of shows, do you want to transform it or something like that? So it kind of gets more like, I like that this software now becomes a little bit more contextual, and you don't have to know which menu item on which screen in which level you find something to switch on or off, or you have to do 3 clicks to switch on the top toolbar. Yeah, now you can just kind of have the command bar switch on top toolbar, and it does it. I don't know if that command already exists, but I will find out. It's almost like a shortcut. Yeah, so these little things are a bit on the edge of value a command palette command, or just, why don't you just get a keyboard shortcut? It's the other thing. Yeah.
It makes it more keyboard friendly. So if you're used to, or if you prefer to work with the keyboard, it makes things so much easier, because otherwise you have to always use the mouse to get to that contextual menu to select, like to copy or duplicate something, or add before, add after. And if you have these commands in the palette, you can just hit Command K or Control K and just use your hands on the keyboard instead of using your hand on the mouse. And I think that can be definitely beneficial for people who prefer to like work keyboard only, or prefer to work on the keyboard.
And it also speeds up your publishing process when you only have, I don't know, 6 sets of commands that you punch into the command palette instead of kind of clicking around with the mouse. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I wonder if that's on the roadmap for ISO 7.0 WordPress, like having a programming. I, as a user, can daisy chain commands into a workflow. I don't know if that's going to be possible, or it's even thought about
like
it.
Apple shortcuts.
Yeah, kind of Apple shortcuts. Yeah. Or what was the other one? Alfred on Mac. Yeah. Or there are quite a few. Yeah. Even GitHub has workflows where you can just daisy chain some of the commands. But yeah, maybe we get a plugin for that. How about that? That's definitely plugin territory, I think. All right, the next feature is for developers. There is a new component, and it adds the tabs. That's a composable tab panel, which was before, but it's a tab panel version 2. So you can build out interfaces that use tab labels and tab content better with components it's now available. You can test them out. The documentation seems to be already in there on the storybook, not the style book, the storybook for the developers to figure out how these tabs work. And there's also a type button for the vanilla button elements now available, so you don't have to make it up. What else? Oh, yes, patterns got some new management features, and it's a nice addition with duplicate pattern command. They're all for the command palette. Rename the command, rename the pattern, rename delete options for pattern categories in the site editor. There are new media related categories for the patterns. So there's quite a few changes in there to make this all a little bit more comprehensive as a management tool to create patterns and to make them available to certain content production people. Any comment, any ideas, any thoughts?
Sounds pretty good. I have to test this out. I haven't seen this, so again, but that's pretty interesting to have like these renaming features also now via the command palette.
Yeah.
Because like that's something also I appreciate, to have like these pattern categories now that you can also like create on your own and make it your own, basically. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and also add them to the theme, and kind of help the user to kind of find things better.
Yeah.
For developers, definitely something that they have been asking for quite a bit regarding extensibility of the block editor. There is now a new slot to put information or interfaces into the plugin post excerpt slot. And that means that in the post excerpt place, where not only there's the excerpt, but there's also other things in there. You now can, per plugin, add additional sections there. So that's specific for the plugin, for the post excerpt space there. That's in the sidebar when you wanna, for the document settings, for the post itself. Yeah, we also see featured image. There's also one for the publish slot, for the pre-publish slot. And there are quite a few other slot fills that you can use as a plugin developer, but we need more, I guess. And this one is definitely one that a lot of people ask for. In the design tools, there are two changes. One is that the measurement 16.10 and 10.16 options were removed from the aspect ratio dropdown, and they figure that it wouldn't take too much harm to do that because it's too close to the 6.9. And I think that's pretty much the justification for it.
Yeah, to have less options, and it's not too like overwhelming, because the change from 16 to 10 to 16 to 9 is not that huge. Mm-hmm. For example, when you have 4 to 3 or 3 to 2, that's a bigger difference. Right. And if you would have just a little bit of more on one side. Yeah.
And then the other one is that you can now add CSS level 4 viewpoint relative units into your theme JSON, in your custom CSS way, in the theme JSON setting spacing units. And that kind of brings us closer to bridge the gap between the big philosophies, intrinsic design, but I want my 15 media viewpoints crowd to, and intrinsic design does not solve all the viewport problems or mobile problems. So this definitely brings us closer to giving theme developers and designers a little bit more options.
I haven't seen them yet, but they look very interesting. So much to catch up.
Come as a guest to the Gutenberg Changelog, and you know what you missed.
Yeah, you learn more than you think what you have missed in the past 4 weeks and beyond, probably.
Yeah, and there is a new API with 16.9, is that you can retrieve the pagination totals with the get entity records call. So get entity records function is a query call to get the entities, be it pages, posts, post types, metas, all that kind of thing. And now it also comes with a total, so you can build pagination or use it some other way. Yeah, that's certainly for the developers quite interesting, which you are. So I hope it interests you.
Definitely. That's very much things I can look into. As I said, I have to catch up.
Yeah, and the team was really, although there was a slump in October, kind of, and we talk about it a little bit in the 17, but there's definitely a lot happening. There's some momentum going with a lot of different directions. We are skipping over all the bug fixes that we saw in that changelog and some other minor enhancements and drop right into the experiments. Because when you take a look at the new experiments page of the Gutenberg plugin, you see quite a few listed. And the most interesting for me and probably other people in WordPress are the new data views. Those are prototypes for certain admin, for the admin redesign project on how to display the lists of posts, the list of pages, post types, and whatever plugin would need things to be listed. And in this Gutenberg version, you now can see the grid layout of those pages and how it looks when list contains a featured image or controls for the actions to switch the layoffs and also to have some additional actions in there. So it's quite an interesting study to go in and look at the experiments. Of course, everything is experimental, meaning nothing lasts, nothing is final.
Things will break.
Things will break. Yeah. And if you have ideas or want to comment on some of the features, GitHub is definitely your friend there. Comment on the current PRs or the PRs that are not merged yet, or create new issues to discuss additional things, what you might need, what you think is missing. Because this is one of the few pages in admin that almost every plugin extends or needs, and getting into the discussion as soon as possible makes sure that voices are heard and listened to. Because sometimes there is this complaint that, well, we weren't asked, or we kind of weren't listened to, or we didn't know that was going on. And the discussions where design decisions were made were actually 3 years ago. Yeah, like the block theme kind of, yeah, in 2022 or even in 2019. In 2019, we were already seeing prototypes of block themes, and there were some Gutenberg Live Q&As where we talked about block themes, but only now in 6.2, 3, they came even to WordPress in 5.8, and then were always iterated on until now 6.4. But the other 3 years of it were kind of missed by a lot of people that might have at least follow up on the discussion and see why decisions were made. So this is the place to get in on the new redesign. Another experimental feature there is basic form input blocks, and to build out basic forms. Also very, very experimental, and just a prototype. But if you enable those experiments, you can see it in action and try it out and see how that works out. And if you can get to that. So that is the idea, to bring form building to core, at least the basic part, so you don't need yet another plugin to do that. But it also helps it also aims for standardized blocks that you can then enhance in plugins, that plugins developers can enhance for their products, but can always be built on a standardized way of forming the input, doing the processing, and then what comes after processing, to have that a unified API for that.
Yeah, and I think this can only be beneficial for the future. So if everyone like speaks the same language, you can make adjustments. You get the basic, and you do not have to reinvent the wheel. You get the basics, and then you can, from that point on, you can iterate what to your specific needs, or to that project specific needs, for example. And I think that's a pretty cool feature.
It is, especially for an open source project, when you find that all of a sudden hundreds of people are kind of maintaining the basis of your code, and you only need to really handle the things that you as a plugin developer care about. And that makes it a value added feature for you base your business on, but your basis is actually covered, and it's a good for all, the whole ecosystem, to have some then standardized way of doing things. That's also why pretty much the block editor needed to be in core right away, to have other people build on top of it, to kind of see if the other page builders can revamp their system to kind of build on top of something, because page builders closed the system down, didn't they?
Yeah,
you
they
couldn't
did.
change you couldn't change your site over to a different theme that wouldn't support that page builder, so you were pretty much locked into that particular way of doing things. And that's never a good system for an open source project that says open source in the name, right?
Yeah.
Just to kind of go back to that history of why wasn't it a plugin kind of thing. There's a few documentation things that I wanted to point out. There's also initial documentation for the data views. So if you want to experiment with them, you can definitely follow the documentation on that. But there's also a way, the documentation was updated for the appearance tools in the theme JSON to include using background images for blocks that you can find now. And so when you have a theme, especially classic themes that enable appearance tools to have a set of design tools available to the block editor, you can switch it on and off for the background image as well. So I think that was Gutenberg 16.9. Is there anything that stood out for you apart from what we talked about?
No, I think you pretty much picked the really cool ones. I mean, of course, there's so much going on. Yeah, just have a look at these blog posts. Everything is listed there. And I think they're super helpful to have kind of an overview. And even if you do not get everything like right away, when you come to a specific issue in developing, like for a theme or for a plugin, it is super helpful to have these handy so you can look up that version and you have like a focused bird's eye view. I know that sounds weird, but it is like that. And you can just see if anything in that version actually breaks whatever you're working on, or if there was a breaking change that makes things appear different than it was before. So they're super helpful.
It reminds me also to make a pitch for a series that will come out this week in its 9th or 10th edition. That's the What's New for Developers monthly post on the WordPress developer blog, where Justin Tadlock and we put together a list of things that are just new for theme developers, for plugin developers, and then some highlight things where we, even if they're user interface or end user kind of capabilities, sometimes a developer needs to know that that's there so they can include it into their features and products. And then there is also a section on what's new on Learn and the links to the developer hours. You mentioned that you were last week at the developer hours with Justin Tadlock and Nick Diego and with Maggie and talking about the default theme. Those links are in that What's New for Developers monthly post as well. And the developer blog is available on developer.wordpress.org/news. So keep that in mind. It's a good blog to subscribe to and has a wonderful RSS feed. And that was the pitch for the developer blog. So next up, very short, relatively short, the Gutenberg 17.0 release. Hector Prieto was the release lead, and it supports many small fixes, and developers also made progress on the data views experiment that we just talked about. So with the 2 plugin releases, there's definitely some headwind there. So the link control for the menu got there were new icons added to it, the blog icon for the blog homepage and the home icon for the front page for the link control in the navigation block, as much as I see it, And then the blog theme preview, you also can see the loading state. So I don't know if nobody really made a big deal out of it, but WordPress 6.3 came with a blog theme preview in the admin. So you were looking for a new theme, and if there's a blog theme, you could actually create in the site editor. You can see a preview of the theme. You can see your content in the theme's makeup. And I really enjoyed doing that with quite a lot of themes that were in the repository. Now, this feature has gotten a new embellishment, was that you now could actually activate the theme from the preview, and now you see how the loading state works when it's activated. So it goes from preview to actually, oh, this is now my theme, and I can stay in the editor and make all the changes that I need to do in my templates or in my content and all that. So it's pretty neat, the blog theme preview.
Yeah, sounds pretty nice.
I don't think a lot of people have used it yet. I don't see people talking about it. I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of a hidden feature, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe then that's why people are not aware of it.
Yeah.
It's like so often you come across something and you did not know that this thing existed. So
look at that. Yeah, and I think people I don't know if that feature that was before in the customizer, right? Where you could preview a theme, a classic theme. And I don't know how many people used it before, that were looking for it and were disappointed that they couldn't do this with the blog theme because it didn't have that feature, and now do it. I guess we need more adaptation of blog themes to actually, for people to use it more. Yeah, the 7.0 also brings in the components a new area kit-based drop-down menu component that can be used in plugins and in your blogs if you need to. and it kind of shows it's more accessible. And Aria Kit is a small footprint, really built out kit for area labels and accessibility support for developers to make it less. You don't have, as a developer, have to know a lot about accessibility to still be accessible with that tool. So quite a few components will use that Aria kit as well. And the developers are in the progress to migrate some of the components over to actually use it as well. But this is a completely new build component, the drop-down menu. There were new suggested commands for editing with a pattern. They are similar to 16.9 as we dotted. And then there's one thing, ensure that term description block is registered in core. That I think was actually, was that backported to the version yet? I think it's for 16.4. It was found in beta, and yes, it made it actually into 6.4 that you can use the term description block that was available in Gutenberg also in your templates for after in 6.4 for your theme. That was kind of an interesting addition. Either it was forgotten or nobody kind of thought about it, but it definitely made it, and it's helping so much more. So if you have what does it do? If you have a category page, archive page, you can actually add the description that you put into your interface for the category into the template and design it and have all the design tools for it. Am I right with that?
Yeah, I think so. I guess probably just got forgotten, or never, anyone who worked on this never had a use case for this, and someone just popped up saying, hey, why is this not available?
Nice.
And it finally made its way. I wasn't aware that it was put into 6.4 already, but yeah, good to hear.
The 6.4 just came out, so it kind of made it into the release candidate 3, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess we weren't done with 6.4. Yeah.
You are never done with developing software.
No,
unfortunately.
That's a Japanese beauty philosophy. It's kind of, or design philosophy. It's kind of never done. It's nothing permanent, and it's not perfect. Those are the three kind of, that pretty much tells me, that's the web. You're always fiddling with something, and sometimes the websites go away, and you're never done with things, and it's never perfect.
Well, that's pretty much true.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of my my approach to web development now. I don't have a lot of expectations. I take it like it weather. So I think that was it for the show. I think we talked quite a bit about things. Thank you so much for being on the show and talking with me through 6.4, the default theme, and the plugin. Is there anything that you want people to know, or how can people get in contact with you that you didn't get to talk about before?
Yeah, how to get in touch with me is relatively easy. I'm on Twitter, or X as it is now, under my name, Jessica Lyschik, LYS. If you have Jessica LYS, then you can find me, definitely. I am Jessica on the Mac Slack, WordPress Slack. There you can find me too. And yeah, pretty much on every social network. I will probably not check them all, but like Twitter and Slack is the best way to get in touch with me, definitely. And yeah.
Awesome.
Maybe was one thing I probably didn't say in the beginning is like I just started a new job last week. So I'm now with a team of great.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And that has been on top of everything else. So that's why I'm a bit out of date on so many things, but I'm catching up. And yeah, got a ton of new information, like what's going on there, what they're going to do with their product. And it's really interesting and super fantastic team, really great people. And I'm very looking forward to, bring in my knowledge to their knowledge, and like, let's make some fancy things.
Yeah, and I saw they were also a big sponsor for WordCamp Germany, and Sandra Kurze, she was also a speaker. So they are quite active in the WordPress community. Yeah, I met a few of them at WordCamp in Porto, actually, 2022. And since then, they have been kind of be more and more active in the community. So I'm glad that they hired you. Yeah, congratulations. And they get some
Thanks.
input from you and some contributions there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're coming to an end. And before I end the show, I want to remind everyone, as always, the show notes will be published on gutenbergtimes.com/podcast. And this is episode 92. And if you have questions or suggestions or news you want to include, send them to changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. That's changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. Thank you, everyone. And I'm glad we are back in talking to you. And thank you for listening. And goodbye.
Bye.